In the heart of history, Kingdom of Heaven stands tall, an epic tale of war, redemption, and sacrifice. Yet, beneath its sweeping landscapes and powerful drama, lies a truth buried by Hollywood's lens. What if I told you that everything you've seen in this movie isn't entirely what it seems? The man who bravely defended Jerusalem, Balian of Ibelin, is far more than the blacksmith-turned-knight portrayed in Ridley Scott's vision. What if his real story was vastly different from what the film presents? Why does Kingdom of Heaven tell a story so far removed from reality? Is this just artistic license? Or is something more significant being hidden from us? As we dive deep into the discrepancies between Hollywood fiction and the gritty historical truth, we uncover how the Crusades, Saladin's genius, and the fall of Jerusalem were far more complex than the movie ever let on. In this video, we'll unravel the real Balian, the truth behind his relationship with Princess Sibylla, and how history's most pivotal moments were warped for the sake of entertainment. You'll see the real Saladin, not the perfect, merciful leader Hollywood adored, but a man who was as ruthless as he was respected. And you'll understand why Kingdom of Heaven, despite its grand portrayal of the past, can't truly capture the dark, nuanced truth of the Crusader era. Together, we will embark on a journey through history to uncover the lies, the fabrications, and the moments that truly shaped the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Prepare yourself for a story that not only reveals the hidden truths behind the film, but also challenges everything you thought you knew about this era. Like, share, and comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the real versus the real in Kingdom of Heaven. What do you think was the most glaring historical inaccuracy? Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the truth behind our favorite historical films. Balian, a hero forged in fiction, but what's the truth? In the world of Kingdom of Heaven, Balian of Ibelin stands as a symbol of humility and redemption. He begins as a lowly blacksmith, whose grief and rage after his wife's death push him toward a journey of self-discovery. This blacksmith becomes a knight, defending Jerusalem in its darkest hour, an image that captures our hearts. But what if I told you that this portrayal of Balian, a man seeking redemption through the siege of Jerusalem, is a far cry from the truth? In reality, the real Balian of Ibelin was not a humble blacksmith from a small French village. No, Balian was a nobleman born in the heart of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem, a region thick with political tension, religious zeal, and the flames of conflict. His origins, far from humble, placed him at the center of the Crusader elite. He was not born of sorrow or revenge, but of a legacy rooted in Jerusalem itself. His father, Balian of Ibelin, was a powerful lord, and Balian's life was shaped not by personal grief, but by the turbulent politics of the time. The film twists this history, offering a romanticized version of Balian's character. It tells us that his wife's tragic death, her suicide fueled by grief, sets him on a path of seeking redemption. But in the cold light of history, this simply isn't true. Balian was already living in Jerusalem, deeply connected to his faith and his duty, long before any supposed quest for redemption took root. He was known as a man of faith, regularly attending Mass and engaging in spiritual conversations, a side of him the film ignores for dramatic effect. Why does this matter? The film, by focusing on the story of a man needing redemption, teaches us a false narrative about strength and heroism. It leads us to believe that greatness is born out of personal tragedy, a myth we often romanticize. But in reality, Balian's heroism wasn't born out of a personal vendetta. It was born out of duty, loyalty, and a deep commitment to the defense of his land. The truth of his story teaches us that the true heroes of history are often those who act out of responsibility, not personal emotion. And that brings us to a deeper lesson. We are often told in our own lives that hardship must be a catalyst for greatness. But as Balian's true history reveals, it's not our personal tragedies that shape us, but the commitment we make to the world around us. Heroism is not born in the furnace of personal loss. It is forged in the fires of duty and purpose. This brings us to an important realization. History, much like our own lives, is often more complex and layered than we are told. Kingdom of Heaven serves as a perfect example of how Hollywood distills a rich, multifaceted history into a simple, palatable narrative. And that's not to say that the film is bad. It's simply not the full story. In this case, as in many others, we must remember that the truth often lies beyond what we see on the screen. It is in the deeper layers, the subtleties that are easily overlooked, where the real story of Balian and the Crusades lies. Balian and Princess Sibylla, a romance, fabricated for drama. If Kingdom of Heaven had you believing in the passionate love story between Balian and Princess Sibylla, let me guide you through the truth, which, unlike the movie, is far from a fairy tale. In the film, Balian is presented as a knight who not only defends the city, but also falls in love with Sibylla, the beautiful princess who is unhappily married to Guy of Lusignan. The film weaves their forbidden romance as the emotional heart of the story, making us root for Balian to be with Sibylla, despite the political and social barriers between them. But the real Balian, as we now know, was far removed from the young, impetuous knight chasing romance. In reality, Balian and Sibylla had little personal connection, let alone a passionate affair. Sibylla, a woman of significant political power, was already married to Guy, a relationship driven by political motives rather than love. Her second marriage to Guy was arranged by her brother, Baldwin IV, who had his own reasons for ensuring Guy's position within the kingdom. And unlike the film's portrayal, Balian and Sibylla hardly interacted in any personal or romantic way. Balian was not a character in Sibylla's love story. He was a man of duty, tied to the political upheavals of the time. Sibylla's true relationship with Guy was not one of the bitter, tragic romance we see in Kingdom of Heaven. Instead, her marriage was one of survival, one dictated by the pressing demands of the kingdom and its future. Her first husband, William Longsword, had died tragically young, leaving her a widow with a child. Guy's ambitions were clear, and his rise to power was far from romantic. This complex political landscape was far more real than any notion of true love that Hollywood tried to sell. And yet, Kingdom of Heaven chose to create a narrative of forbidden love, perhaps to heighten the emotional stakes for the audience. But here's the problem. In doing so, it distorts the complexity of the relationships at the heart of the Crusader kingdom. By focusing on a fabricated romance, it obscures the real political struggles of the time. The real story of Sibylla was one of survival, power, and the harsh realities of being a woman in a world dominated by men and politics. It was not about finding love with a knight. It was about navigating the brutal challenges of her time. The lesson here is simple. Hollywood's version of romance, often driven by fantasy and drama, tends to overshadow the real complexities of human relationships. In history, love is often intertwined with power, duty, and sacrifice. The true love stories, if we can even call them that, were often shaped by survival and necessity, not by the flowery ideals of a Hollywood script. This makes us reflect on our own relationships. How many of them are driven by real-life needs and survival, rather than the fairy tales we so often see in movies? As we reflect on this, it becomes clear. The true history of Balian and Sibylla is far richer and more complex than anything Hollywood could fabricate. And in that truth lies an important lesson. Kingdom of Heaven may have told a compelling story, but it missed the real story, one that was far more powerful and impactful. It reminds us to seek the truth beneath the surface, to uncover the complexities that Hollywood often leaves out. And so, as we move forward, remember that true heroism, love, and power are often not what they seem. They are not born of simple stories, but of the tangled, complicated reality of the world we live in. Just as Balian's true story was different from the film, so too are our lives often more complex and layered than the narratives we tell ourselves. Balian, a blacksmith to master of war, a journey of unlikely expertise. The idea that a simple blacksmith could become a master of military strategy within a matter of days may sound like an inspiring tale of raw talent and destiny. However, this storyline in Kingdom of Heaven represents another glaring departure from the truth. In the film, Balian's rapid rise to military prowess feels almost magical. One moment he's forging metal, the next he's commanding armies, designing siege machines, and leading troops to victory. But in the real world, things didn't work quite that way. Balian of Ibelin was not a novice to the ways of war. Long before his journey to Jerusalem, he had already gained experience. Born into the complex and violent world of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem, Balian's training as a soldier was not a sudden transformation, but part of his upbringing. He was the son of Balian of Ibelin, a noble lord, and as such was expected to partake in the affairs of war, politics, and the defense of the realm. His role as a soldier and leader was cultivated over years, not thrust upon him in a matter of days. The movie's portrayal of Balian as a blacksmith-turned-soldier is, therefore, more of a narrative device than a historical truth. The reality is that Balian had fought in several campaigns before the fall of Jerusalem, and his skills were honed over time, through the very process of being embedded in the culture of warfare that defined the Crusader states. His participation in key battles, his strategic mind, and his eventual role as one of the defenders of Jerusalem were the result of experience, not pure instinct or sudden ability. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. Expertise doesn't come from sudden opportunity, but from years of preparation and learning. Just like Balian, we often find ourselves thrust into roles or situations that seem beyond our abilities, but the truth is, we are always being prepared. Every experience, every challenge we face equips us for the next. True mastery, whether in war, business, or life, is the product of time, practice, and continuous learning. We must not allow ourselves to fall for the myth of the overnight success, because it's the slow, steady preparation that leads to mastery. Just as Balian didn't wake up a military expert, we too are shaped by the challenges and experiences we gather along the way. It is easy to be dazzled by quick success stories, but the real victory lies in the perseverance and growth that takes place in the shadows, long before the world takes notice. The next time we face an unexpected challenge, let us remember Balian's journey, where true expertise was built not by sudden chance, but through years of preparation, sacrifice, and hard work. And as we step into our own trials, we should reflect on how much we have already learned, how much we have already grown, and how much more we can achieve with patience and dedication. Now, let us look beyond the battlefield to the politics and power struggles that were truly at the heart of the Crusader kingdom. Saladin, a noble ruler or ruthless conqueror. In Kingdom of Heaven, Saladin is portrayed as the noble, merciful leader of the Muslim forces, the epitome of honor and generosity. This portrayal of him as a righteous and forgiving warrior has captured the imagination of millions. But in the cold light of history, Saladin's character was far more complicated, filled with moments of mercy and brutal calculation alike. Saladin was indeed a brilliant and strategic leader, revered by both Muslims and Christians for his wisdom and his unification of the Muslim forces against the Crusaders. However, like many historical figures, his reputation is a blend of myth and reality. While the film emphasizes his merciful acts, particularly after the capture of Jerusalem, it downplays his tactical ruthlessness, particularly in the early years of his campaign. After the Battle of Hattin in 1187, when Saladin's forces decimated the Crusader army, he had a choice: show mercy to the vanquished or exact revenge. The film, in its bid to create a palatable hero, focuses on Saladin's generosity, depicting him as offering safe passage to the Christians in Jerusalem and ensuring their lives were spared. But the truth is more nuanced. Saladin's mercy, though often portrayed as an act of kindness, was also a shrewd political move. By granting safe passage, he strengthened his position as a leader who could offer peace and prosperity after the destruction of his enemies. But this wasn't his only tactic. Saladin was a master of psychological warfare, and his decision to allow a peaceful surrender was just as much about projecting power as it was about showing mercy. In the real world, Saladin wasn't simply a knight in shining armor. He was a calculating leader who understood the importance of reputation and the political benefits of both kindness and terror. The film's portrayal of him as a purely benevolent figure misses this crucial aspect of his leadership. He wasn't merely a merciful ruler, he was also a fierce warrior who knew how to use his enemies' weaknesses against them. His decision to execute Reynold of Chatillon after the Battle of Hattin was a clear example of his ruthless side. Reynold had been responsible for numerous atrocities against Muslims, and Saladin saw his execution not just as justice, but as a way to send a message to his enemies. This more complex version of Saladin teaches us an important lesson. Greatness is rarely one-dimensional. Leaders, whether in battle or in business, are often required to balance mercy with ruthlessness, wisdom with strength. While it's easy to be drawn to the idealized version of Saladin, the real story shows that effective leadership isn't about being one thing. It's about understanding when to be compassionate and when to assert control. What can we learn from Saladin's leadership? That in our own lives, there are times when we must show kindness and compassion, but also times when we need to assert our strength, set boundaries, and protect what we hold dear. The balance between mercy and power, between forgiveness and justice, is the true mark of a great leader. In this way, we see that the true story of Saladin, as with Balian, is far more intricate than Hollywood's portrayal allows. It's in these complexities, these layers of leadership, where the true power lies. And as we reflect on these stories, let us consider how we too can navigate the delicate balance between mercy and strength in our own leadership. Baldwin IV, the leper king, a face of strength, not weakness. In Kingdom of Heaven, Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, the so-called leper king, is portrayed as a tragic and mysterious figure, his leprosy concealed behind a veil, his strength and resolve obscured by his suffering. The film paints him as a tragic hero, hiding his pain from his people, perhaps to keep his dignity intact. But the reality of Baldwin IV is far deeper and more inspiring than the one-dimensional portrayal Hollywood presents. While Kingdom of Heaven focuses on the king's frailty and his illness, it misses the true essence of Baldwin IV's legacy, the remarkable strength he demonstrated despite his debilitating disease. Baldwin IV ascended to the throne of Jerusalem as a young boy, only 13 years old when he became king. Diagnosed with leprosy at an early age, a disease that disfigured and incapacitated him over time, Baldwin's reign is an extraordinary testament to courage, determination, and a deep, unwavering faith. His story is not one of weakness or helplessness. It is a story of resilience, a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even the harshest trials. The film presents Baldwin IV as a figure who hides behind a mask to protect his people from the sight of his affliction. While it's true that Baldwin did wear a veil to cover his face in public, this was not out of shame or a desire to hide from the world, as the film suggests. The real Baldwin IV wore the veil to avoid frightening his subjects, not because he lacked confidence in his leadership. He wore his leprosy like a crown of strength, not a symbol of defeat. His actions on the battlefield, his strategic mind, and his leadership were not hindered by his disease, but fueled by an inner power that transcended his physical condition. This reality challenges our modern perceptions of leadership. In today's world, we often equate leadership with outward strength, health, and perfection. We're taught that true leaders must be free of vulnerabilities, free of weakness. Baldwin IV, however, shatters this notion. He proved that real leadership is not about being invincible or flawless. It is about leading with conviction, integrity, and strength of character, no matter the personal struggles we face. Baldwin IV's leadership was marked by strategic brilliance, even in the face of his advancing disease. His victory in the Battle of Montgisard at the age of 16, when he led his troops to an astonishing victory over the forces of Saladin, is one of the most remarkable feats in medieval history. Despite his illness, he was able to rally his troops, outsmart his enemies, and preserve the fragile Crusader kingdom. He did not allow his physical frailty to dictate his actions. Instead, he turned his limitations into a source of strength, drawing from his inner resolve to lead with wisdom and grace. This story serves as a powerful lesson for all of us. In a world that often celebrates perfection and physical strength, Baldwin IV's story teaches us that true strength comes from within. It's not our physical abilities that define us, but our ability to persevere in the face of adversity, to lead with integrity when it seems easiest to quit. Baldwin IV showed that strength is found not in the absence of weakness, but in the courage to face our weaknesses head-on and continue to fight for what we believe in. As we reflect on Baldwin IV's reign, let us ask ourselves, what is the true measure of our own strength? Is it our health, our outward appearance, or is it our ability to continue moving forward in the face of life's challenges? Baldwin IV, despite his leprosy, never lost sight of his duty as a king, and in the end, his legacy is one of unwavering commitment to his people. This is the true lesson he leaves us with. Strength is not about perfection, but about enduring with grace and determination, regardless of the obstacles we face. As we move forward, we can carry Baldwin IV's story with us as a reminder that our greatest power lies not in avoiding hardship, but in how we choose to confront it. Life, much like the Crusader kingdom, will always be full of challenges, but it is how we face them that defines us. Baldwin IV's strength in the face of his affliction is a beacon for anyone who has ever struggled, showing us that the true power lies in the heart, in the will to keep going when all seems lost. As we bring this journey through the kingdom of heaven to a close, I invite you to take a moment and reflect. The story of Balian, Saladin, Baldwin IV, and the entire Crusader era is far more than just a tale of war and politics. It is a story of resilience, strength, and the profound complexities of human nature. These men, each facing their own battles, whether physical, spiritual, or emotional, teach us lessons that are just as relevant today as they were over 8 centuries ago. We are often caught up in the narratives that surround us, whether in films, media, or the stories passed down from generation to generation. Kingdom of Heaven is one of those stories that, while captivating, gives us only a glimpse of the deeper truths. The true power of Balian's leadership was not in the dramatic moments where he wielded a sword. It was in his unwavering commitment to his faith, his duty, and his people. Saladin, often depicted as the noble hero, reminds us that greatness is found not only in moments of mercy, but also in the harsh decisions that leaders must sometimes make for the greater good. And Baldwin IV, the leper king, embodies a strength that defies expectations, a reminder that true power is not defined by the state of our bodies, but by the fortitude of our spirits. These characters, whether fictionalized or rooted in history, are reflections of all of us. They face struggles, they endure suffering, and yet they rise again, showing us that even in our weakest moments, we can find the strength to continue. Their stories are a call to embrace our imperfections, to find resilience in adversity, and to lead with purpose, no matter the obstacles in our path. As we think about the lessons we've learned today, it's important to ask ourselves, what will we do with these truths? Will we allow ourselves to be defined by the battles we face, or will we, like Balian, rise above them, finding our strength in the very things that challenge us? Like Saladin, will we find a balance between mercy and strength, knowing when to lead with compassion and when to assert our power? And like Baldwin IV, will we embrace our vulnerabilities, recognizing that our true strength lies not in perfection, but in our ability to persevere through life's trials? In the end, it is not the battles we fight that define us, but how we choose to fight them. Every day we are presented with choices that will shape not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. Just as Balian chose to stand firm in defense of Jerusalem, just as Saladin chose to unite his people under a banner of strength and mercy, and just as Baldwin IV chose to lead with courage despite his affliction, we too are called to make choices that reflect the strength of our character, our faith, and our purpose. If this video has resonated with you, if you found strength, inspiration, or perhaps even a new perspective on your own journey, I ask you to consider showing a small gesture of support. Whether through a like, a comment, or simply subscribing to stay connected, your energy is invaluable. It fuels not only the creation of content like this, but also the spirit of sharing and community. In this world, we often find ourselves lost in the noise, seeking meaning, seeking truth. But sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one story, to bring us back to the light. If this video has given you that moment, then your support, no matter how small, is a gift I hold dear to my heart. Your encouragement, your kind words, and your presence here are the reason I continue to create and share these messages. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. May the stories we share, the lessons we learn, and the strength we gain continue to guide us through life's most difficult moments. And as we move forward, remember that no matter the challenges you face, you are never alone. We are all part of a greater story, one that transcends time and space, and together we can find the strength to rise above anything that comes our way. Keep seeking, keep learning, and most importantly, keep growing. Thank you for being here.